And welcome to Feminine Fridays. I'm Laura Rubenstein with the amazing Diane Halfman. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Laura. Welcome to the weekend, everyone. Great to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited about our girl time that we get to spend every Friday. We go over one of the feminine power cards. I got a good one for you today. Um, and it's like lunchtime. Join us, come on in, have a sit down just before your weekend starts, get you in the mood for it, right? What kind of mood are you in now?
I'm in an energetic mood. I'm actually in the Costa Mesa area. I'm going to be going to the ice lab after we get off here. So, all kinds of fun things happen in there.
Ooh, is that like cryogenics or something?
Yes. Yes.
Woo-hoo.
I'm going to do some EFID and some cryogenics and shout out to the owner, Monica, supporting small women businesses. And so, I'm super excited.
That's great. So this is Feminine Fridays, and I did promise we're going to talk about um, being right. So I have a pick day card for us, and I thought I'd um, read the card as we do every week. It's like we do again from the Feminine Power Cards deck. We pick a card, we talk about it, we coax out your feminine energy, and we talk about it in a way that a lot of people aren't talking about it. There's this word, but what does it really mean? So these feminine power cards has principles and practices. So here's the pink side's the principle, the blue side's the practice. So the first principle that we're going to talk about today, the only principle we're going to talk about today, although I'm sure we will mention others, is relationships flourish when you surrender being right. Relationships flourish when you surrender being right. I have to do
Mm.
opposite. So, ah, you know, it, it yeah, in theory that sounds great. Yeah, I don't have to be right. I'm not stuck on being right. And then you're in a situation and you're hammering it in and you've got to be right and you just can't get unstuck from that, right? Well, this card is meant to kind of jostle you out of that and a way to like, what's more important, the relationship or being right? And it doesn't mean
Mm.
that you're the loser, so to speak, if you're just give up being right. You're like, just have more power and say, I don't need to be right. Maybe they're right. Or they can keep their opinion. That's fine. So here's the practice. It's a star. So that means it's something to do. How do you do this? The next time you insist on being right, determine if your relationship is important enough to forego that being right. What does that make you think of?
Hmm. Anytime I think of relationship, I look at it as there's me, there's Carrie, and then there's relationship. So I necessarily don't have to be right. I can have my own opinion, but I look at it as what do I want for the relationship. And I think one of the things that Carrie and I are really great at is just being in a place of curiosity. Is that I know that you wouldn't be sharing this opinion or sharing something because that would be harmful to us or that this separate relationship that we have. So I always like to come from and just an open mind that I just may look at something differently than he does, but knowing that whatever he's bringing up is for the better of that third entity that brings us together.
It makes the word respect comes to mind.
Hmm.
So when you have to be right and you're making somebody else wrong, sometimes it's making somebody else wrong versus
Right.
respecting having your opinion. When I think when this card is talking about is like if you surrender having to be right, like having to have the other person think you're right too. Like, no, I'm right and you're therefore wrong, right? If you give that up and you go to something like what you were saying, is like, I have my opinion and I respect that you have yours too. So
Right.
that there's
Right.
a really huge distinction there. Surrender being right doesn't mean you give up your opinion. It's
That's a good
surrendering
distinction.
it's surrendering, giving up the notion that you have to be the right one. Yours is right for everyone. It's like there's only one answer, right?
Right. Well, and I don't know, Laura, if you find that I find that there's like a little bit of truth and rightness, if you will, in everything people bring to the conversation. Like I don't feel like it's ever 100% right or 100% wrong. There's kind of like, there's always like a little bit of truth into something. And sometimes if it stings, we don't want it to be right. Right. But I look at it as that, these things are here to help you, right? It's for you, right? Then, because if there's trust in the relationship, you want to trust that they're bringing something up that's actually going to improve you, help you move forward, that you're not assuming, unless you're in an unhealthy relationship, that it's meant to, knock you down. So you got to distinguish between, are you in a healthy relationship that you trust that person enough to be okay to not be right in everything?
Yeah, and a lot of times that other person wants to be right in everything.
That could
Right?
be
So that
too.
that, a lot of times, if they won't, you can't, if somebody's always willing, it can only be their way, that's a little red flag to me.
Right. Yeah.
So,
True.
um, but relationships flourish when both parties surrender having to be the right one. Like, I'm right, you're wrong. When there's this right wrong dynamic, um, there's hardly a relationship there. It's like, it's my way or the highway. That is not a relationship, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes we
It's
just get
funny.
stuck in that.
Right. It reminded me. I remember something early on, and I can't remember what it was. Carrie and I were having a discussion, and during the conversation, I realized he was completely right in something, and I had even said to him, "I go, oh, you're right. Like that's totally true. That's right." And he stopped and he said, "I've never been in a relationship where someone who's actually said that I'm right." And I said, people are so attached to having to be right that they can't be objective enough to know, like, maybe they're not.
Right. Right. So if you really want a relationship to flourish, make the other person right. Not like you're wrong, but like in agreement, like you're both right. So have your
Yeah.
own opinions. That's really awesome to have. But if you're stuck in having to be right, you're stuck in your relationship. You're stuck in that making someone else wrong because you have to be right. And when we get there, um, take a breath, man, and see if you can forgo. If you can do what this card said, the next time you insist on being right, determine if your relationship is important enough to forgo being right. I mean, wow. Uh, mm,
Right.
you know, does it say something about you that you're wrong? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It
Mhm.
means the relationship. It means you get to have an opinion, but you don't get to say it's the only way. Right? You get to have
Right.
your opinion and let the other person have the opinion and I love how you brought it up, the very first thing, the respect. Giving each other that respect, or at least giving space for each other to have our own beingness, our own values, our own opinions, like you said, is so
Right.
valuable. This will transform any relationship, right? Like, just
Yeah.
like, and
Definitely.
make other people right, like, validate that they have their opinion. And even if you don't agree with it, like, well, that's an interesting opinion. Thank you for sharing. It's
Mhm.
different than mine.
Right.
But this is good.
Definitely.
I really appreciate that we can talk about this and have different opinions. And,
Right.
it's not about convincing and converting and making someone wrong and being right. And, typically it does come from a good place, though. It's like, I'm right because I want healing for you. I want you to feel more love. I want, like, there's something underneath it usually. But you have to know that, even though there's many roads to accessing the underlying. If for I'm thinking of something, if somebody has a cold and, take vitamin C, right? That works. But they're like, I'm just gonna crawl under a rock and I'm just gonna wait this out, right? And you're like, no, you gotta take vitamin C because you're gonna da 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 da. And they're like, no. And you're like, no, you gotta, I'm right. Vitamin C works, right? But do you value the relationship enough to say, you know what, maybe this person knows what's right for them?
Right. Right.
Vitamin C is right
What
for me.
comes Well, another thing that comes up to me is that, I can't want something more than someone wants for themselves, right? So we may know that something's right for us, but for whatever reason, whatever path somebody else is on, like you said, they may find something better for them in a different way. You kind of have to respect some of those boundaries to be like, okay, you know what? you're an adult. You can choose the way you want to go. And for those who are just maybe popping in here, I think it is a great reminder of what you said earlier, Laura, is that if you're stuck in being right, you're stuck in your relationship. And I love that, because I think that's an important thing to really just remember from this episode is, if you're holding your relationship at a higher level and as something that is separate from you and whoever you're in relationship with, then it deserves the respect to that everyone can be right and everyone can be wrong, but you got to know is what is it that's best for the relationship, and just to have the awareness of it.
Mm-hmm. Our relation, I agree. I love the analogies of putting this relationship as like a third entity between the two. That is something that is very to be guarded vigilantly and respected. And what I mean by guarded vigilantly is to be hold it as sacred. Know that the next thing out of your mouth is impacting the sacredness of that relationship. So if it's going to be something like, no, I'm right, you're wrong, you're putting that into that space and it's tainting it. So keep it loving, keep it sacred, keep it like so a place that you nurture, right? As if it's a gentle, fragile world of its own, kind of like the background image we have up here, this gentle, fragile
Right.
world that's a microcosm that has the two energies in it and they are dancing and playing. And can they really come together versus be like this and then they crumble? So I want to see people play and dance and respect and love and fun and blossom, right? So
Definitely.
let's
Yeah.
have
Great
relationship
combo.
flourish and try this one tactic. This is just one, it's not the only thing. We have 53 cards. We're getting towards the bottom of the deck here. We've gone through so many, so please feel free to check out our other episodes that we've done here at Feminine Power Cards on YouTube, on Facebook, and on our blog now. We're now going to be sharing these on our blog at femininepowercards.com. So again, anything you want to say about this card?
I would just say, because I love for people to kind of go into the weekend with an intention and an actually action where they're taking this in, is just to have some awareness around conversations that you're having within your relationship, and just notice is there something going on in your head where no matter what the other person's saying that you feel like you have to be right, or you're just asserting that rightness, and really to have the distinction between your opinion and contributing to the relationship versus that which is in flow, right, which is the feminine energy being in flow, versus this rigidness of like I have to be right. So just notice where your stance is in a relationship and catch yourself, and then just see if you can maybe just pivot a little bit to make the relationship right versus yourself.
I love that. Observe your need to be right and then see where you can adjust that. Pivot. I like that word. Pivot is fun. So we'll leave
Awesome.
you there. Let us know, sprinkle your thoughts and what happens below, and we'll be back again. If you have questions, just shout out to us at Feminine Power Cards on the Facebook page. Thanks, Diane.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.